goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, well, hello, belatedly a little bit. I could blame my tardiness on the buses, but the reality is if I didn't act like Congress by always waiting until the last second to show up at the bus stop, I mean, I wouldn't be courting this kind of disaster. So, hello, good morning. It's Friday, January 4th, 2013, and I had too much fun last night, and consequently, I think I sound like it today. Do I? No, I sound almost normal. Good. I had a hell of a time last night. Anyway, so. Just you, just me today. Actually, maybe some of you can tell us being Jess and me, which one of us is correct. As you may know, tomorrow night I will be at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in the cold, but watching the Packers play the Vikings in a playoff game. And Jess was saying, what did you say to me? Drink a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Jess has answered everything, right?
That's fair.
We were talking about how many oh, yes, and I'll put those things in my shoes and my things in my hands and layers. And then Jess said, and drink a lot. And I said, no. My understanding is that alcohol is the absolute wrong thing to do if you want to stay warm. Jess is adamant that that is incorrect and that her favorite story of survival is of a man who survived the Titanic because he was so drunk when the ship went down that for some reason he was able to cavort in the frozen waters of the North Atlantic and not freeze because he was warmed by the alcohol in his system. I say that's an apocryphal tale. And my understanding is you feel warmer, but I think I think alcohol is not a good idea in terms of actually dealing with freezing temperatures. So we need some input from you guys. As you know, it's Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. isn't it? See, that's like your own phone number. I never, that all of a sudden it didn't sound right. Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Or you could also call, if you'd like, at 412-316-3381, whether or not I should take a flask. And another friend did say, I have a flask if you want it. And I did see an article in USA today that said that the Packers have announced that they are cutting off liquor sales at Lambeau a quarter earlier for this game. Why would that be?
People getting crazy.
They usually cut it off at the end of the third quarter, and they're cutting it off at, I guess, the end of the half or something like that. Why, what are all those poor frozen, beer-swilling, brat-eating cheeseheads supposed to do? So, tell me, I'm sure I'm right about this. You could Google it, too, you know. Is alcohol a good way to stay warm? I don't think so. Okay. I guess I got to get down to business here. So I'm reading the front page of the Pittsburgh paper today, and I found myself talking back to the article, and specifically talking back to quotes from the governor and his minions in regard to this lawsuit that the state of Pennsylvania has filed against the NCAA. And yesterday when the subject came up, I had said I need time to look at this. I'm a little confused about what they're suing about, and this is the article this morning that told me what they're suing about. They're suing. It's all about the fact that the business community in State College has suffered because of the sanctions imposed. That's really what this is about. And the quotes drove me crazy. I mean, it says Corbett will be arguing that the penalties against Penn State have and will continue to hurt the community and the state's economy. Well, that was the first time I screamed. I remember screaming something to the effect of, well, duh, that's what a sanction is. A sanction is supposed to hurt, isn't it? A sanction, a punishment, is supposed to hurt in some way. Then the governor is all because he says that the merchants didn't do anything. They didn't molest any children. Why should they be penalized? Well, here again, I cannot believe arguments like this are made. Invariably, the people who are hurt as a result of some criminal doing are often innocent. The merchants, yes, they're innocent. What else is new, governor? What else is new? Why don't they understand that the whole point was, if they can recall, that what the Sandusky case showed, the curtain it pulled aside, was the corrupting influence of the worship of football and how it had corrupted the university at the highest levels. And that corruption was part and parcel of the entire culture of the town and everything. Not that the people in it were, consciously aware, but the worship of the Penn State Nittany Lions, the worship, the idolization of Joe Paterno, Joe Pa, the fact that, you know, a statue was put up. I was arguing against naming a bridge after David McCullough because he ain't dead. Good heavens. They put a statue up of Paterno when Paterno was very much alive, and you see exactly why that's not a good idea. The whole idea of the sanctions was to hurt Penn State. And if these businesses, the merchants, make their money off of that football worshiping culture, well, they're going to be hurt too. Yes. So there's something so incredibly stupid about this lawsuit. I mean, about its complaint. The complaint is that the sanctions imposed hurt. And again, I say, duh. And further complicating this is the fact that the governor, who serves on the board of trustees of Penn State, at the time accepted the sanctions. And now he's found out they hurt. And so he wants to make literally a federal case out of the fact that the punishment that has been handed down hurts. This guy was the Attorney General. You would think he'd understand something about crime and punishment. Now, he might argue that it's not the NCAA's job to punish criminal conduct, that in fact Sandusky is serving life in prison, that it's the criminal justice system that will take care of all the perps in this case. But he again forgets that one of the unindicted perps in the case of these children's molestation was the enabling culture. And a culture is made up of all kinds of separate organisms that feed off, that create a symbiotic relationship, right? And everybody was loving that culture there. And it was that love of that culture and the money it threw off that created the blindness, the deafness to the children's cries, the strange paralysis of the leadership of this university to take action and to protect the most vulnerable citizens in that culture. To look at the complaint in this lawsuit is to look at a petulant child's cry about the fact that the punishment is not something he's finding enjoyable. Here's State Senator Jake Corman, a Republican of Center County, where the culture is. And he says you can see it in empty seats at the football games. And that translates into, here are his words, less people coming in and getting gas at local gas stations, less people staying and buying things, less people at restaurants, and on and on and on. And remember, says the senator, this is just year one. Excuse me. So, here are these guys. They're 1 year into a what? 4 year? Into a 4-year punishment, sanction. And they're finding out it hurts. And they're screaming for it to stop. Well, I'm sorry. This shows the blindness continues apace. Also, there are no numbers that the governor's office, excuse me. Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There are no numbers that the governor's office can give us that show and quantify the harm that has been done to all these innocent merchants. And in fact, it's quite possible it doesn't exist. Because people are saying, well, they hear this and they hear that, and anecdotally this and anecdotally that. And a restaurant says he's not doing as well as he did last year at this time, when in fact, it could be the economy. It could be a lot of things. How do you decide how much of it is because Penn State has lost its ability to go to a bowl game? The fact of the matter is they still have a football team. The football team comported itself rather well this last season. The stadium was mostly full. This is nothing more than a political gambit by the governor. And in that regard, it's particularly loathsome. Seriously. And I just want to say, just doubling back to State Senator Jake Corman, Senator, your grammar is atrocious. Your quote drove me crazy on so many levels I don't even know how to begin. You should have said, fewer people are coming in. And fewer people are getting gas. And fewer people are spending their hard-earned money on schlock at the games. It's fewer, not less. It's not a big deal, but, ooh, thank God somebody... Laura, thank you. Laura has been heard from on... about alcohol and warmth and exposure to cold. Are you ready, Jess?
I read something.
You're wrong, right?
Yeah.
Will drinking warm me up is the question. Answer, hate to be a downer, but no. And it could actually be dangerous. That is correct. My favorite Saturday morning cartoons love to show St. Bernards bounding through the snow with their casks slung around their necks, bringing brandy to wayward mountain travelers. Turns out the St. Bernards were carrying mail rather than brandy, but plenty of modern skiers carry bota bags filled with wine or brandy when they're on the slopes. They claim the alcohol warms them up. Well, not. Alcohol has a much lower freezing temperature than water. Vodka and other 80 proof liquors have a freezing point of about 22 below. Water freezes at 32 degrees. It stands to reason that alcohol would chemically be somehow warmer than ice and snow. The truth is, it's already getting too scientific for me. The truth is that a lower freezing temperature has everything to do with the chemical composition of the alcohol and nothing whatsoever to do with any magical properties it may have to warm us up. Basic physics means that drinking a cold beverage will draw heat from your body, and drinking a hot beverage will add heat to your body. Theoretically, then, alcohol shouldn't add. Well, how about if it's like some warmed-up eggnoggy thing? Mm-hmm. Yuck. Alcohol shouldn't add or subtract heat differently than any other beverage. But But alcohol makes you feel warmer. It causes blood vessels to dilate, which shifts the blood flow to the surface of the skin. Unfortunately, when you're, out in the cold and you take a sip of brandy to give yourself a little warm pick-me-up, you aren't heating anything. Instead, you're letting more blood flow past the surface of the skin where the cold outside air is able to steal a little bit more heat from your body. So thanks to the alcohol, you're actually getting colder, not warmer. So anyway, that's it. Thanks, Laura. I thought so. Oh, so Jess had already looked it up, but decided not to share that information. Huh?
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, you didn't want to interrupt? Okay. Okay. So there was that, and hang on, we've got more. Ansel writes, excuse me, having been to a couple of PSU, that would be Penn State University for those of you who don't know, football games this season, you would never know that any sanctions had been levied against the university. The attendance, although slightly down, was still quite incredible given the circumstances. The stadium holds 108,000 people, and the average attendance this season was 96,000. I'm not sure the business owners are hurting all that much. Also, the worshiping culture you speak of exists everywhere. Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan. Yeah, without a doubt. And the NCAA is just as guilty for growing that culture as anyone else. This is true. The NCAA exists to protect this money-grubbing industry that it has helped create, and what the sense is they felt that Penn State had really harmed the old brand in many ways, because Penn State, here's again what you forget, Penn State had set itself up to be somehow better than all these other football programs, right? That was the whole thing. They somehow were not sullied by football as other lesser universities were. Their players were all wholesome boys who graduated at extraordinary rates, as opposed to other universities where football was the be-all and end-all, and the kids were a bunch of essentially hired mercenaries who probably could barely read, but the university looked the other way and let them through, right? But not Penn State. Penn State, always, above all of that. And there's something about when somebody puts themselves above everybody else and then proves to have feet of clay, that the rest of the world looks on and frankly, in some measure, delights at the fall. Not necessarily a nice thing to do, but understandable. And so Penn State, they're feeling very aggrieved, but they're already totally forgetting about the children and the lives that have been destroyed. And they're bitching and moaning now about the fact that they're not making as much money as they used to. My heart bleeds for them. They don't get it. Of course, this whole football culture, which exists everywhere, I'm off to Green Bay, Wisconsin tomorrow. And the football culture here, professional football, college football, it's a culture, and it's a huge, huge industry. It's huge business. And they ain't doing as well as they used to. Why? Because children were molested on their property by their employee, and they knew it and did nothing. The outside world looks on and is appalled, is sickened. And I gotta tell you, doesn't give a hoot if some restaurant in State College ain't doing as well this year. Here is the president of the local Chamber of Commerce in Happy Valley. What we do know is that life will not be as it was. And our ranking as number 2 in football profits probably will not remain. Hey, guy, it ain't about your friggin' football profits. It's about ruined lives. It's about betrayal of innocence. It's about love of money and power more than love of the children. It's about covering your butt, or attempting to, while not caring about the most vulnerable among you. It's amazing. They don't get it. They didn't learn a damn thing. And here's our incredible governor leading the charge of the idiots, leading the charge of the whiners who are hurting now. Hurting now, not making as much money. Think of one child who will hurt every day of his life. Think of another child and another and another and another and another. And we're supposed to give a damn? Corbett? Sickening. You're collateral damage, okay? Suck it up. Live with it. It's no different than the fact that when I go to fly tomorrow, I got to take my shoes off. I got to make sure liquids are in little... I didn't do anything. It's some total friggin' creeps 12 years ago did something. And we all suffer as a result. We're innocent, but we suffer, right? Sanctions. Consequences. Jeez. I think this is despicable. But the governor has made political calculations, and he thinks this is smart. We'll see. We'll take a break.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Lynn Cullen Live and Panera Bread celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
In 1951, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. graduated from Crozer Theological Seminary as the class valedictorian and entered a doctoral program at Boston University. At Boston University, King met Coretta Scott, a graduate of Antioch College. They married in 1953. In 1954, they relocated to Montgomery, Alabama, where King accepted the position of pastor at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church.
Countdown to King, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health, and Lynn Cullen Live.
Pittsburgh City Paper's first issue of 2013 is available now. Pick up one today for big ideas for a new year, promised land, and news of the weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All righty, Rich writes, although my gut feeling is that Corbett's lawsuit is all about votes, I've always felt that the NCAA sanctions did not hurt the 5 people who failed the university: Spanier, Curley, Sandusky, Paterno, and Schultz. You can make the argument that the sanctions hurt Paterno's legacy, but not the other 4 people. Well, see, their sanctions, though, are in the criminal justice system. Sandusky's doing life. I mean, Paterno had the good sense to die. And Curley, Spanier, and Schultz, their day in court is coming. Their lives have been, their professional lives have been destroyed. Spanier, who had a huge legacy going for him, has been brought low. The criminal justice system is dealing with them. But the NCAA their sanctions are intended to hurt the program, intended to hurt the money-making machine that is Penn State football. It was intended to hit them right in the pocketbook. The no bowl games, the inability to field as good a quality team as they have in the past because of the no scholarships to be offered. All of this. But that's what sanctions are, as I said. And then Rich makes a very good point. He says, please keep in mind that Penn State is not behind this lawsuit. That's true. And he says the university has made a public statement that they do not support it. I did not know that. This is true. It is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that has brought the suit, and not Penn State. And one of the reasons that the Attorney General is not overseeing this lawsuit, which you would expect as the state's chief law enforcement officer, is that the Attorney General has all these criminal cases against Spanier and Curley and Schultz to deal with. And I guess that was considered that there would be a potential conflict if they were also then going after the in federal court, the NCAA for its sanctions. I know. Okay, fine. But here, there's such commingling here that it's difficult. The governor is on the board of Penn State. The governor is bringing the suit. Penn State says it's very incestuous all the way around. It's hard to sort of untangle Penn State from the state of Pennsylvania. It's hard. But I just find this despicable. I really do. I think you take your lumps. Shut up and take it. It just doesn't look good. Dorothea writes, Pennsylvania Attorney General-elect Kathleen Kane, who's a Democrat, has to be wondering what the heck she walked into. What kind of a relationship will she have with Corbett? Well, she and Corbett do not like each other. She, in running for Attorney General, criticized him often as the prior holder of that office. It was he appointed the current Attorney General when he became governor, but he ran as the Attorney General for governor. Kathleen Kane trashed him quite a bit in her campaign, so there's no love lost between those two to start with, and there's no way that the governor would want this Democrat carrying the ball for his lawsuit against the NCAA. I don't know. She must be wondering what she walked into. Anyone who runs for office these days must be. I'm looking at all those people taking the oath of office yesterday in Washington who've gone to Congress. And what are they thinking they got themselves into? The most dysfunctional, screwed up governing body. One of the, I mean, it takes some doing because there's lots of them all over the world, but that the U.S. Congress has gotten to the horrible level of incompetence that it has. I think they need more women. Everybody's hooting and hollering about there's so many more women. There's 20 female senators now, so that's just 1/5 of the Senate is made up of women. And there are, I think, 78 female members of the House. And that's just nowhere near enough women. Women tend to be much more comfortable talking together, which is what a legislative body has to do. That's their job. I also want to point out that a legislative body's job is to pass laws. Is it not? What is the law? What is the job of a Congress? What is the job of a legislature? Its job, the Constitution says what the job is. It's to pass laws. I didn't mean to scream at you. It's to pass laws. Will somebody please tell that to these numbskull Republicans who think their job is to prevent anything from being done? In other words, any law from being made? I saw this amazing number the other day. I don't know if I have it here. The Do-Nothing Congress, that's what President Truman called them. I think that was, they served between, I think, 1948 to 1951. That was the famous Do-Nothing Congress. And it, I don't have it here, dang it. It passed, I'm going to do this from my faulty memory, but that Do-Nothing Congress in the 50s passed something like 700 or 800 bills during its tenure. The Congress that just went out the door yesterday, I think passed, 178 bills? No Congress has ever been so totally not. We pay these people to pass laws. We do. That's their job. They haven't been doing their job, and we're paying them. Beyond belief. Beyond belief. Charles Blow put it well. The Republicans have again demonstrated just how broken and paralyzed our government has become, now beholden to hostage takers and vulnerable to extremism. We are stuck with this reckless, whining, and ultimately dangerous gaggle of people. And he says, and this is scary, remember, he says, and because these Republicans are in such disarray now and they're at each other's throats, he says, remember that an animal is often at its most dangerous when it's sick, when it's wounded, or when it's afraid. So brace yourself. All right, here are the numbers. The Congress that just went out passed 173 public laws, and many of those were, just crapola things. Agreeing to, name the kumquat as the national fruit or something. The Do-Nothing Congress from 1947 to 1948, that's when it was, enacted 906 laws. The Do-Nothing Congress did 906 laws. Our Congress, this one, 170. You have no idea how totally, absolutely, and you know what they're paid, each individual one of them? And here's the really sad things. So most of these Republicans, the troublemakers, the ones who go there and then stymie every attempt to do the job of governance, of law making, which is what the Congress is supposed to do, since these Republicans don't agree with laws. They don't like laws, regulations. Well, they like them if they have to do with my vagina. They don't like them if it has to do with making a business person have to, I don't know what, do anything reasonable to protect the public. The problem is most of these Republicans are from these totally safe, jerry-rigged, gerrymandered districts. And so they don't have a damn thing to lose by continuing to be totally obstructionist, even if it pushes all the rest of us to the brink. They have no incentive whatsoever. They've got constituents that will keep sending them back, paying them big six-figure salaries for doing nothing. And even better, if they do something, what they see as their job is preventing any other member of the Congress from doing his or her job. This is what the Tea Party has unleashed. I am going to take another break. Okay? Be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on meals from your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 30% on gift cards to the Hard Rock Cafe. Supplies are limited. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. Bergbargains.com.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Yeah. So, talking about the fact that there are now more women than ever. And women in and of themselves are not going to fix things because stop and think of some of the women in the Congress. And we get Michelle Bachmann. Who else is like her there? I can't think. But Michelle Bachmann's just a beaut, and there are a few of that ilk as well. But generally, the women in Congress tend to be much more inclined to talk and to achieve consensus, to find common ground, all that kind of stuff, right? And men are much more about winning. Men are much more about territory and rank. And this other piece of New Hampshire has gotten some press in the last week or so because its state's government has been totally feminized. Its 2 senators are women. Its congressional delegation, women. They have 2 House members, 2 senators, women. Governor, woman. Speaker of their House, woman. Every the Chief Justice of their Supreme Court, woman. All the top political jobs in the state of New Hampshire are held by women. And then somebody pointed something very interesting out. The state legislature in New Hampshire is bigger than the Pennsylvania legislature, which is one of the hugest. It has over 400 members. That's a... Oh, no! Where'd the voice go? It has... we're even lower now. It has 400 members. And... I mean, it's like they have a representative in their state legislature for about every 3 people in the state. It's very different. And here's the big difference. You know what their legislature is paid individually? What they get paid? $100 a year. Okay, let's take a call. Hello.
Hi, Lynn. It's PJ from Greensburg.
Hey, PJ.
Hey, do you watch Morning Joe?
I used to, but I don't very often anymore. No.
Yeah, and I only watch occasionally. But this morning, Bob Woodward was on. And I don't know what is going on. You should have heard him bashing, along with a lot of help from Joe Scarborough, President Obama, about how little he did for this deal and how this deal means nothing.
Well, I mean, I've been reading a lot of pieces from people doing that, and others saying, I thought this was bad, but then I looked at this and that. Look, there will always be people who... I think politics is the art of the possible, right? And it's pretty difficult to get anything done anymore because of this House.
Well, and that's the way I look at it. I mean, when I look at who he's dealing with, I don't understand. And then they had a Republican House member on. I'm not even sure who he was. He's dealing with people that want to live in a country that looks like Somalia.
Yeah. So,
they want everybody to be armed, no government whatsoever, except for a government that hands out money to the super wealthy, the already well-off, so that they can separate themselves from everybody else in the country.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with this mindset. You know, I've heard a lot about John Boehner, and the more I hear about him, he would be better off just to resign.
Well, you wonder why he's even hanging on. I mean, he has no power. Apparently, no power. This, you know, the measure that did get passed, that did get through the House, only got through the House not because he was scraping up votes, but because Nancy Pelosi was scraping up votes. He has no control of his people.
Well, no, I mean, look at the vote. The vote to get him to put him in as speaker.
That's right. The fact is this is and look, he gets reelected and they don't even want him. That party is absolutely this wounded. I mean, Charles Blow had it right. It's like a wounded animal, and
and that
scary.
Goes back to my original point, which is, what the hell was Obama supposed to do?
I don't know. You tell me.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, you make the extreme left happy, which is me, and nobody else is going to be happy. Or you compromise. That was the epitome of compromising.
Exactly.
And at least pushing things forward. Oh, he keeps kicking the can down the road. Like I said, what the hell is he supposed to do?
What's he supposed to do? He ain't the dictator. He's got to deal with his damn Congress. You can't... Look, the fact is, because nobody liked this measure. Nobody did. And the sign of compromise is when everybody's complaining.
Everybody has to hold their nose.
That's right.
And the more I see, I get so frustrated with Obama, but the farther I can step back from it, and the more I can look at it, he is an extremely reasonable president.
Right, which drives partisans
and
crazy.
He's being kicked for it every chance people get.
I know.
So, all right, hey, have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you. You too, PJ. Yeah, we always want more. No, we didn't get enough. I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he allowed this. I can't believe he didn't do this. I wish, Bob Woodward, Scarborough, you sit. I can't imagine the frustration of being the president of this country at this time. Because the government is as close to non-functional as it has ever been in my lifetime. And it's because you have enough people who have been elected to the Congress who do not believe in government. I mean, they're quite open about it. They don't believe in government. They don't trust government, even though they are now government. And they see as their job to throw wrenches into the works, to prevent anything from happening. And Obama didn't, what? What's he supposed to do? I mean, your elementary civics taught you that there are these three branches, right? Obama controls one. And his branch is not the lawmaking branch. His branch is not the lawmaking branch. That's the Congress. And one house of the Congress is completely off the rails. They have a leader that doesn't lead, that can't lead. They have a bunch of whacked out radicals who are assured of re-election because of their safe and gerrymandered districts. And so this group can go and literally stop the government. And they're going to do it again and again and again. We've all been warned. If you liked the reality show that was this Congress, stay tuned, because we're in for nauseating reruns. And until the American people get so fed up, I don't know. Russ writes, I saw this. It's apt. It's a quote from Harry Truman. Democrats work to help people who need help. That other party, they work for people who don't need help. That's all there is to it. So back in the 40s, it was the same thing. The Republicans were the party that served the haves. And the Democrats are the party who serve the have-nots. But the Republicans that Harry Truman was talking about would look like socialists to us today. So far to the right, so far off the plantation has the Republican Party wandered. 40 years in the desert for them. I'm telling you, 40 years. That's why the Israelites had to wander for 40 years, because you needed all of the slaves, the people who had been slaves, to die. So that slave mentality was dead, and instead you had a new generation capable of a complete break from the past. This is what the Republican Party now is going to have to do. Wander in the desert until these lunatics that have destroyed their party are dead. And the radical ideas they espoused are dead as well. There, as spoken. Okay, I think that's it. Is it it, or do we have to keep going because I started late, whatever. I'm loath to tell you this because I just took such a long vacation. But you see, because I'm going to be at that football game Saturday night in far away Green Bay, Wisconsin, and because other people from around the country are going to that game, and because there are next to no airplanes that fly in and out of that little town anymore, I cannot get back here to Pittsburgh on Sunday. Literally cannot get back here. Even if I were to travel to nearby places. I'll go to Milwaukee. I'll rent a car and go to Appleton. Can't get out. So there's no way I could get back to do Monday's show. So next week we start on Tuesday, and then I'm going to stop this gallivanting and be here in a steady way through the rest of the winter. I promise. I promise. Okay? So I got me a 3-day weekend coming up, and think of me Saturday night. If you watch the game, I'll be one of those frozen people in the stands. Okay? I'm sorry it ain't in Pittsburgh. I'm really sorry. Have a great one. 4802 tonight, 7:30, Channel 13. Okay? Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.